This slinky represents your energy levels. Here's how much energy you get back from just going gluten-free. But here's how much energy you get back from working on your lifestyle, nutrition, and getting to the root causes of your fatigue. So if you want to get your energy from here to here, in this video, I'm breaking down my tired system, the exact method I use for myself and with all of my clients to reduce brain fog, increase energy levels, all whilst achieving fitness and fat loss goals too. Fatigue was one of my worst symptoms before and early into my diagnosis. Yes, that's me sleeping in public. But after building some solid foundational habits, I've managed to totally transform my energy levels. And now it's my full-time job to help other celiac women do the same. Because you don't have to settle for living your life with your battery on 20%. You can follow this simple 5-step checklist to recharge and finally take control of your health. Just like this amazing celiac lady who came to me 12 weeks ago, struggling to even get through the day without a nap. Her focus was down, she couldn't exercise, and she'd just hit rock bottom with her health and needed to change something. But by staying consistent with the habits I'm going to speak about today, she's managed to completely transform her energy levels. Now she can consistently exercise, she's been losing fat, building muscle at the same time, and she even managed to participate in a volunteering day at work when last year she had to skip it due to excessive fatigue and joint pain because of her celiac disease. So if she can do it, you can do it too. But before we walk through the tired system, you need to understand why we still experience fatigue as celiacs, even after we cut out the gluten. And just a quick disclaimer, the information in this video should not be taken as medical advice. It's for educational purposes only, based on my own research, experiences myself, and experiences with coaching many celiac women. But I'm not a doctor or a dietitian, so if you're struggling with symptoms, you should always seek help from a medical professional, as there are lots of underlying health issues that can cause fatigue. We're just going to walk through the main causes of ongoing fatigue in celiac disease specifically. The first being nutrient deficiencies. Because of the intestinal damage we experience when we're still eating gluten, this can impair our ability to absorb nutrients properly, which is why so many celiacs struggle with things like iron, vitamin D, B12, folate, and calcium deficiency. Another reason we can feel very, very tired all the time is because celiac disease comes with a lot of stress and overwhelm around food, and this can cause us to underfuel ourselves. And then our own lifestyle choices can make things worse if we're not managing stress, we're not prioritizing sleep, and are living a really, really sedentary lifestyle. However, above everything, the most common factor that causes fatigue in celiacs is ongoing cross-contamination. If you're not 100% strictly gluten-free and you're not avoiding cross-contamination as much as possible, this tired system will not work for you. That is the absolute fundamental step to promoting best health with celiac disease. But if you are strictly gluten-free, here's the system I created to stop feeling constantly exhausted and rebuild my energy from the ground up. T stands for take your supplements, and most celiacs skip this one. But as I mentioned, nutrient deficiencies are super, super common for us, and the biggest symptom of these is fatigue, brain fog, exhaustion, weakness. Personally, I was very deficient in iron and B12 when I was first diagnosed, but after consistently supplementing them alongside following my gluten-free diet, I started feeling a lot better within 3 to 4 months after my diagnosis. So if you're not already taking supplements, it's really important that you get a blood test done at your doctor's or your GP, because that's the only way to find out what your levels are and what you're actually deficient in. Otherwise, you can end up wasting loads and loads of money. So I only take things that I actually need. But again, the only way to know what you actually need is through blood work. In the UK, in most areas, you'll be entitled to a blood test at least once a year. This is often known as the celiac review, and it is in NICE guidelines. However, your GP may not invite you to this, so you may have to bring it up and push for that yearly testing. However, if you do have diagnosed deficiencies, for example, you're very, very low on iron, you may need more regular blood tests to check in with how your levels are progressing after your diagnosis. And these don't go away overnight, okay? Consistency is key. So it's really important to put a system in place to make sure you remember to take your supplements. My favorite one is something called habit stacking. So you want to pair taking your supplements with something you already do on a daily basis. Obviously, time them around whether they need to be taken away from caffeine. For example, iron can't be taken with caffeine because it messes with the absorption. But overall, something I like to do is pair it with brushing my teeth. So I put my supplements next to my toothbrush, next to my toothpaste. So every time I brush my teeth, I take my supplements. And if you're someone like me who has to take quite a few supplements, I also really recommend using a pill organizer. So by organizing your pills at the start of the week, You don't have to undo multiple bottles every single day. You can just open up your pill organizer and take the ones for that day, and it makes things a whole lot easier. A lot of my clients like to keep their supplements, for example, in their car or in their drawer at work, so that no matter where they are, they've always got access to them, even if they forget to take them before work. So once your nutrient levels are where they should be, your nutrition can actually do its job. I stands for intentional nutrition, because just because something's gluten-free doesn't mean it's healthy. Adapting to our strict gluten-free diet is a big change, and it can be stressful, which is why so many celiacs get stuck in a loop of sticking to safe, packaged, certified gluten-free foods. But unfortunately, these processed free-from snacks are often very hard for our gut to digest, which can cause some inflammation, and they're often quite low in protein and fiber, which isn't the best for our blood sugar stability either. And without these major nutrients, we can experience huge crashes in our energy because they spike our blood sugar. We don't have the protein and the fiber to regulate and stabilize things, so we crash down, and this is why we get that 3 p.m. crash. So in order to keep our blood sugar level and energy levels stable, we need to make sure that our meals are nice and balanced. And by balanced meals, we mean plates that include protein, fiber, carbs, and healthy fats. And I know what you're thinking, Ella, that sounds great, but what if we're so fatigued that cooking feels like a mammoth, awful task to do? And I feel you on that one. Back when I was super fatigued, the last thing I wanted to do in the evening was meal prep my lunch for the next day or cook a really nice balanced meal with lots of whole foods. I just wanted to go for the quickest thing so that I could just eat and expend the least amount of energy possible. But unfortunately, if we want to see any progress with our energy, nutrition has to be our utmost priority. So we have to take baby steps forwards with building the habit up of meal prepping. We don't want to have to cook something new every single day. Batch cooking a couple of times a week is a lot more efficient because you only have to expend the energy in the hour to an hour and a half that you are cooking that one meal. And by batch cooking, you can also make yourself emergency meals. So on days where you're really struggling with energy and you don't have anything, you know you've got something in the freezer that's going to give you the nutrients you need. And we don't have to be fancy with this, okay? We don't need to be whipping up some Michelin star chef level food. We can keep things super simple. Meat, carb, vegetable. And it's so possible to reduce the barriers towards us cooking and make things easier. We can utilize things like microwave rice, ready cooked meats, ready frozen vegetables that are already sliced or prepared, just to keep things on the easier end. Yes, in an ideal world, we'd be making everything from scratch, but we've got to be realistic, okay? And I'd way rather you eat something that's nice and balanced rather than nothing. And if you've got no idea where to start when it comes to cooking balanced meals, please feel free to join the Celiac Wellness community. It's a free group that I run for celiac women who are looking to improve their energy levels, reach their fitness goals, and just all around become the healthiest version of themselves. In there, you'll find a high protein guide, which has lots of recipe ideas that are 100% celiac safe, of course, and that are also super easy to make and meal prep so that you can create your bank of go-to recipes and skip all of the overwhelm. There are lots of other free resources in there as well, from fatigue management guides to nutrition and workout guides as well. You can find the link to join in the description of this video, and I hope to see you in there. So when you've started being more intentional with your nutrition and fueling your body and energy properly, the next step is to think about how you recover. R is for routine at bedtime, because if you're constantly feeling exhausted, it is so important to think about your sleep-wake cycle. Sleep is when your body literally heals from inflammation. And we all hear on social media that we need to be aiming for that 8 hours of sleep at night. But in reality, women can need anything from 7 to 9 hours to feel most refreshed. And something that's often overlooked, and even more important than the amount of sleep we're getting, is the quality of sleep that we're getting. And it's so easy to fall in the trap of sabotaging your own sleep with behaviors like eating your dinner really late, doom scrolling on TikTok in bed, or just going to bed at random times when you feel like it. Your body likes consistency, and without it, you're never gonna fully recharge or feel your most energized. And when it comes to building a sleep routine, everybody's very different, and not everybody's in the situation of being able to always get a tip-top 8 to 9 hours of sleep per night. When you're working different shifts, when you have children keeping you up, maybe you are a carer of somebody with additional needs, all of these different things can impact how much time you have to focus on yourself at nighttime. But something that I would really suggest is, as much as possible, is giving yourself a window before bed when you can focus solely on winding down. So in an ideal world, this would be something like an hour to an hour and a half before you go to bed. But if it's 20 to 30 minutes, something is better than nothing. And in this wind down period, what we want to focus on doing is trying our best to reduce stimulation and get our body ready for sleep. We can't just be go, 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 lie down, head on the pillow, and just expect ourselves to go to sleep. We have to slow our mind. So some things that really, really help me are staying off social media, which is easier said than done. And I'm not saying that I read a book every single night, but something that me and my partner do is watch an episode on Netflix or something longer form, because when you're scrolling on social media, it is very overstimulating to have a new light or a new sound blasting at you every 3 seconds. And you also have to be quite consciously scrolling as well. So I'd opt for something more long form, try and dim the lights, try your best as well to keep the room cool and dark. And building this routine is even more important if you are somebody that has a very stressful job. So I'll tell you a story about one of my clients. She really, really struggles with work stress. Her job is very full on. She works in a lab, so she's on her feet all day. She's constantly doing really high urgent things all throughout the day. So she has to be very, very switched on. But she also struggles with fatigue because she has an autoimmune condition. She has celiac disease. So when she gets home from work, we've set a very, very strict routine in place so that she can not only switch off and de-stress, but she can also promote better quality sleep as well. So between us, we've agreed that she will do crocheting. She will watch an episode of Netflix, and she will call a friend on nights where she's feeling really, really stressed, all to help her wind down. Because when we're super, super stressed and when we're not getting high quality sleep, this literally impacts our body's healing, it impacts our body's recovery, and therefore translates into lower energy levels. So try your best to build a consistent wind down routine, stay off social media, and go to bed at similar times every day where possible. And once your sleep improves, movement becomes your secret weapon. So E is for exercise consistently. Now, I know the thought of exercise right now might seem totally out of reach with your energy levels being so low, but hear me out on this one, because exercise is actually how you create energy. And when we're struggling with fatigue, my biggest piece of advice would be to stick to home workouts to start off with, just so that you can cancel out that need to commute to a gym, which is going to take up even more energy. So you can grab yourself a pair of dumbbells and start doing some light resistance training at home. Strength training is so important for our health, specifically as celiacs, because unfortunately we're at a higher risk than the general population of developing osteoporosis, and resistance training alongside managing deficiencies is the best thing that we can do for supporting our bone health and muscle health. Even a couple of really light sessions per week has been shown to help regulate hormones, improve sleep, and stabilize blood sugar. All things that we need to help boost our energy levels. But you don't need to overdo it. Pacing yourself is really, really important. And I want to introduce you to another amazing client of mine who came to me around 3 months ago, really, really struggling with fatigue. And she was in a really dark place because she loved exercise, but she just couldn't for the life of her get back into it because her energy was so, so low. And she is living proof that you can get back into exercise and start using it to boost your energy levels, because in the space of 8 weeks, she started training consistently again from home with weights, and also improved her body composition as well and lost 8 pounds in the process. And the biggest thing that we've worked on is pacing herself, because she's the type of person that likes to go, go, go really hard on a good day. And if you're struggling with fatigue, you might have experienced this as well. When you have a better day when it comes to energy, and then you like to do everything on your to-do list, you like to do a workout, you like to go on a walk outside, and this burns you out and this causes you to be even more tired the next day. So what we've done is slowly built up her workload when it comes to training over time. And on weeks where she's not feeling so good, we just strip things back. Remember that it is absolutely fine to rest when you need to, but it's important to be honest with yourself whether you could do 10 minutes. And the 10-minute rule can really, really help with you making that decision of whether you're too fatigued to do anything or whether you just need to push yourself to give things a go. Set a timer on your phone for 10 minutes and try and do 10 minutes of exercise. If by the end of the 10 minutes you want to stop, that is absolutely fine, you can stop, but you've done something. However, what we often find is that after the 10 minutes, you've built momentum and you want to carry on. And this is called behavioral activation, and it stimulates motivation. It really, really helps you push forward. So give the 10-minute rule a go if you're struggling to push yourself to do anything with your energy being so low. It's also great, and I use it on days where I'm just not feeling motivated. Alongside strength training, 2 to 3 times per week, even if it's just 10 minutes, I also really recommend that you try and get outside in the daylight every single day for a walk. Being outside in the sunlight really, really helps regulate your sleep-wake cycle, otherwise known as your circadian rhythm. It's really good for your mental health. The fresh air helps you feel more energized, and steps and walking is super, super important for your overall health as well. So I'd recommend doing a mixture of walks and strength training from home. On the flip side, there are some forms of exercise that I would avoid. Don't just go and book yourself on a class at the gym that's like a high intensity workout class, circuits, something like that. You need to go at your own pace. You have an autoimmune condition and you need to build things back up one step at a time. Jumping into a class that's designed for people who aren't struggling with their energy, who aren't struggling with celiac disease, is not the best idea, because it can make you feel very demotivated and deflated when you find it really, really hard, and it can also burn you out if you expend too much energy and you do too much in that hour. So I'd avoid anything high intensity and stick to your strength training. But it's important to remember that the energy boost you get from exercise only sticks around if you're hydrated. So the final step, D, is for drink water, because dehydration makes fatigue so much worse and it's so easily solved. Ideally, we'd like to aim for at least 2 to 2.5 litres of water a day. And if you struggle to get this in, I'd really, really recommend pairing having a glass of water with another habit you may have, such as having a coffee or having a tea or having your lunch. Just pair that glass of water with every meal, every other hot drink that you have. And it's also very, very useful to get yourself one of the big water bottles. I personally like having a 1.5 litre one, so that I know I can aim for having 2 of those a day, or just under, to hit my water goal. Setting reminders on your phone really, really helps to remind you to drink water, and also using habit tracking apps is game changing as well for all of the things I've described, so that you can be reminded to tick things off on a daily basis. It's such a simple step, but it's honestly game changing. Building these habits is the key to building energy in the right way, so that you don't have to rely on caffeine or sugar to help you get through the day. But as I mentioned earlier, the free celiac wellness community linked in the description is where you can find the free resources that I've mentioned, from the protein recipes and protein guide, fatigue management guide, home strength training programs that you can follow. It's all in the community and it's all free, so make sure to join and take advantage of that. And on a final note, I want to remind you that we all have bad days. Even me, and I'm a coach for celiacs, I still have times where I do struggle with fatigue after I get cross-contaminated, for example, by accident or gluten, or even if I just come down with an illness like the flu, I can experience fatigue for extended periods of time. So please don't get in the horrible trap of beating yourself up if you have a bad day, or comparing yourself to somebody else that's got celiac disease that seems to be recovering so much better than you. You're on your own journey, and as long as you are doing everything you can to build these habits over time, you will see improvement, as long as you are strictly following your gluten-free diet. So the TIDE system consists of the exact foundational habits that the clients I've mentioned throughout this video use to boost their energy levels and take control of their health while seeing fat loss at the same time. If you're also wanting to work towards a weight loss or a fat loss goal, be sure to check out this video, which shows you exactly how to do that in the most sustainable way possible.